for Tennessee as the preseason practice has started. However, what position he'll play, guard, tackle, very versatile, that's yet to be determined on what is still a makeshift offensive line for the Tennessee Volunteers. It is not, will it be a makeshift race in Watkins Glen this week when the silly season heads to New York? Jerry Bonkowski of NBC. What are your thoughts going into this race here? One of the few road races on the NASCAR circuit.
Well, right now as we speak, they're raining. It's getting rain out there in Watkins Glen. So we could have a race under the in wet conditions on Sunday. But the biggest question is, will this race essentially finally stop the juggernaut of Kevin Harvick, Kyle Busch, and Martin Truex Jr.? I mean, they've won 16 of the first 21 races or something like that. Near the checkered flag, but this is a good time for a lot of other guys to kind of show their stuff as well. And probably one of the best, well, actually two of the best road course racers on the circuit right now, and they've been for a long time. They don't get a lot of attention though. Are AJ Allmendinger, who won at Watkins a few years ago in that really close finish with Marcus Ambrose, and the other guy to watch is Michael McDowell. He's a tremendous road course racer. Doesn't get a whole lot of notoriety, hasn't had a whole lot of success, but put him in his element on a road course, he does very, very well usually.
Well, okay, that's kind of intriguing because I hear a lot of people said, but what about the other driver you mentioned right there? Why do you like his chances on Watkins Glen this week? And you can hear I just went in one ear and out the other. So tell me a little about this guy. Yeah, go.
He's got a lot of talent. Let's start off that. That's probably the best way. But he hasn't always had the equipment to give him, better finishes and that kind of thing. And then he was let go from his team last year, and he has hooked up with a new team this year. And if he was in, let's say, a Hendrick style ride or a Joe Gibbs ride or a Stuart Haas ride, I think he. Get more out of his car in that kind of a setting than a lot of guys that may be better off or better or have more success, if you will. So I wouldn't be surprised to see McDowell finish in the top 5 at Watkins Glen. But like we said about Allmendinger, I mean, he is historically when you talk about road course races, either at Watkins or Sonoma, but primarily at Watkins because that's where he won it a few years back. People talk about Allmendinger a lot. So. Those are the two guys that, if you want to talk about dark horses, they are definitely dark horses. But again, we've got, doing this domination going forward for the rest of the season. Sooner or later, they're all going to hit some kind of slumps. And, if there's ever a good time to hit a slump, it's now rather than before it's now before the playoffs rather than in the playoffs.
Well, it's interesting that you say that. I mean, with me, with the playoffs, I mean, I don't care if it's the NCAA basketball tournament or the playoffs in the Monster Energy Cup Series, or certainly with baseball or hockey. I just think there are too many teams making playoffs. I think a championship should be the elite. I didn't want to see the Minnesota Twins win a World Series last year with 85 victories. What they do? They didn't deserve that. Somebody from just out of nowhere, I got off to a good stretch. Why'd we run the first half of the silly season then? That's sort of my philosophy there. I mean, yeah, it's intriguing which one of these 3 drivers can.
I agree.
But let's give him this victory, and I don't know, let's give him Bristol. But even if he does that, if he starts
2013, I think it was, 11, 12, whatever it was, because that was such a. probably wouldn't have otherwise. So, it is a Cinderella story, like, the teams that make the 64 teams in the NCAA tournament, sooner or later you're going to have a bowl, a later. Dow were to win Sunday, they're more than likely going to make the playoffs, provided they have enough points, and that's a big thing, and that can only lead to even bigger and better things. And for example, like with Allmendinger, when he won that race, it really helped his sponsorship for the following season. It eventually led JTT Doherty to eventually add a second driver with Chris. Even though you may think, well, the name guy should be there. Well, if the non-name guy gets there, he deserves everything that he gets if he wins that race, and let him have his day in the sun, as opposed to guys who've been dominating. I'm sure you've had a lot of fans call in, and you read all the same things I do online. The chat channels and all that, and people are just they're a little disappointed that their drivers are not doing as well as these other. How often are we talking about guys like Brad Keselowski or Joey Logano or Jimmy Johnson or Alex Bowman or Elliott? Chase Elliott. There's so many guys we could talk about, and they're just not having the years. They're not getting the wins.
They're just in a small conference. They won their games. They did everything they needed to do. It's not their fault they're not in the Big Ten. Yeah.
Yeah, but they were the Cinderella story. That was the point I'm getting at. Yeah, I agree with you there. But there have been other Cinderella stories in the past, in the NCAA's that have not had the greatest of seasons, yet they've gone 2, 3, maybe 4 rounds. So it is possible to have a less well-known driver don't have that great success, week in and week out. Then why would they have road course races? It's kind of like the great equalizer, so to speak.
All right. Let me ask you though about the road course. You've been covering a lot of Indy open wheel racing. In driving a stock car, driving an open wheel Indy car on a road course, let me ask you, what are the primary differences? Because Indy obviously runs a lot of road courses, like they did in Ohio last week.
Right. Well, the biggest difference is weight. NASCAR, the Monster Energy Cup car weighs about 3,700 pounds, whereas an open wheel car in the IndyCar circuit about 1,900. So maybe about almost half lighter, and it's more nimble in its ability to turn. Do more things with it. Whereas a stock car is a little bit more. I don't want to use the word plodding along, but when you have that extra weight, you don't have the ability to turn as sharply as you would, let's say, in an Indy car. So there's that. Obviously the Indy cars are a lot faster. They can really crank it when they want to. So there's all that. They're just two different diametrically different cars, if you will.
Talking to Jerry Bonkowski, and I know your time is short. And by the way, speaking of, I want somebody who does it well in the regular season. I'm going to talk to Tim Capper of ArenaFan.com after I talk to you. And 2-10 team won the Arena Football Championship. But what I want to get to here, though, is that McDowell, if you like long shots, that's somebody to look at. Allmendinger, but if you had to choose somebody to win, is it going to be one of those two, or is it going to come from the big three?
I don't think it's going to be. Well, let me preface that. I would love to see Allmendinger or McDowell win. I